Formula One Focus. We're going to chat a bit about the latest rumors around Alpine and Daniel Ricciardo's instant dismissal. Welcome back, Hendrik.
Hi, and nice to be with you again.
Let's talk about the not shocking news, but sort of unexpected news from a year ago, maybe, that Alpine is actually going to discontinue, manufacturing their own Formula One engines. What's the latest that you've heard about that? What's the thinking behind doing that?
Well, officially, the thinking is to save money. And you're right, a year ago, I don't think we did expect this, but earlier in this year, rumors started to surface, and especially around the time when during the upheaval in the management of Alpine, the Formula One team, and certain people from Renault, senior members from or management from Renault had been fired, and other people were brought in, and then some were appointed as temporary principals. It was just a whole mess going on management-wide in Alpine, instigated, it seems, by De Meyer, the CEO of Renault. And the story sort of slumbered on as the season progressed, and it later became a widely accepted fact that Renault would stop their Formula One engine operation in Paris, but they would continue to support the Formula One team, which was badged as Alpine, purely as a publicity exercise, and that Alpine would then in turn become a customer team and use Mercedes engines. So some of this has now been confirmed. It was yesterday. Yes, it was yesterday. It was basically confirmed. It was expected because the deadline was the 30th of September. And it was expected. So Renault basically announced that they would stop their Formula One engine operation at Viry-Châtillon, just outside Paris, at the end of the 2025 season. Not now, but the end of 2025, that they would not continue developing the 2026 engine, which they've already done, or power unit, which they've already begun with, obviously, but that they would stop the development of that, and that they would now remodel their Paris operation to develop newer technologies for the road operation, although they would still continue with other championships that they are involved with, but not Formula One. So that's basically, and everyone at Viry will guarantee that they would keep their jobs. So no, there's no job losses. So there is no need really for people to go and to march and to get the state involved with labor laws and stuff like that. So it's basically just a remodeling of their operation in Paris. So nothing was said yesterday about the possibility of linking up with Mercedes, but just like the Daniel Ricciardo story, it is pretty much an open secret in Formula One that they are looking at getting a Mercedes customer deal for the 2026 season onwards. That's when the new dispensation comes in. And pretty much they want to continue as a customer as a customer operation. So there are pros and cons, because basically what they want to do is they don't want to spend the money on developing the Formula One engine, Renault. They don't want to continue spending money on doing that. That's basically the idea behind the whole thing.
The one thing that I've been noticing is the fact that everybody's saying, how can you have an Alpine who's now supposedly a sports car, a very limited sports car, but with a Mercedes engine? And the consensus is basically that you'll never see an Alpine with a Mercedes engine, because this whole thing is possibly just a way of getting the team ready for sale. And there are a couple of candidates for that. But number one, do you think that Renault is actually not just going to stop manufacturing Formula One engines, but going to be putting out of Formula One altogether after, how many decades worth of success? But this last, since 2016, when Carlos Ghosn was behind them coming back into Formula One, has not actually been such the roaring success they would expect it to be.
No, and excuse me, and in general, Renault has had very mixed fortunes in Formula One over the years. They were the ones that that brought the turbo engine in the early 80s initially, and unfortunately for them, they were not that successful. Other teams brought out their own engines, turbo engines, that were more successful, but they were pretty successful as an engine supplier to the likes of Williams, for instance, in the 90s and that sort of thing. So and then, of course, as a full factory operation in the middle to 2000s, they actually won the drivers and the constructors championship with Fernando Alonso in 05 and 06. But then, partly brought on by the worldwide financial meltdown in 2008, they withdrew, and then they were rebadged as another operation, and then they later came back officially, buying back the operation that was running under their name but not officially. And from then onwards, from the mid-tweens, what is it, the tweens, they really did not succeed, especially, as I said earlier, with the new turbo hybrid dispensation, and they were not successful. So it's a little bit sad to see them go, but again, I'm not sure that it's such a loss. Are they preparing to sell the team? I think that's a realistic possibility. I've mentioned, I think, before, in terms of other teams that were said to be on sale, that if you are a team and you want to sell yourself, or if you are the owner of a team and you want to sell the team, you are not going to stand on the rooftops and announce for everybody to hear that I want to sell the team, because then you sound very desperate and then you can't get the best price. So that is the view I take, with all the denials from anybody in the Renault camp, saying no, they're not going to sell, they're going to continue and whatever. Of course they're going to say that. They're not going to announce that they are for sale until they actually are involved in serious negotiations. And that's quite likely to happen. As you mentioned off air, the team principal at Alpine Formula One now is a former Formula 2 team principal, and the team that wanted to actually enter Formula One along with the Andretti effort, high-tech. So we're talking about Oliver Oakes. There's quite a possibility that he could be in negotiations to actually take over that team and to rename it maybe as high-tech. I don't know. There's always the possibility that the Andretti Global Group can come into play and possibly make an offer for that team. But I'm pretty sure that it's going to be a very expensive exercise if you want to take over a team in Formula One any day now. It's just you're going to have $1 billion at least, at the very least.
Yeah, I would think of those two candidates, Andretti and high-tech. Andretti is probably the most the best set for it. I know there's a lot of movement around Andretti, Michael Andretti selling some shares and acquiring this and acquiring that. A lot of things happening sort of at the same time that seems to indicate some sort of a movement, and now this is pure speculation. But I've always said it, and since you and I started talking, that yes, I think Alpine is going to end up being sold to Andretti, because I think that's probably the easiest way for them, or the actually only way for them to get into Formula One. And like you said, it's not a bad thing that Alpine might be putting out of it, because it's a half-hearted effort at best. And a proper racing team like an Andretti-backed team will be, I think, much better for the Alpha Formula One going forward.
Yeah, except of course, if Andretti buys the team, then we still have only 10 teams. Or if Oliver Oakes takes over the team financially and rebadges it as high-tech, we're still going to sit with 10 teams. And that doesn't really solve the issue that I have with the whole idea of limiting the number to the current 10 and closing the door to basically anybody. That to me is just wrong. It's just and that is one of the things that's going on behind the scenes. We've spoken about this in the United States with the Department of Justice there investigating the whole saga around Formula One not allowing Andretti in as an additional team. That is something completely separate from anybody coming in from the outside to buy an existing team.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I forgot about that justice investigation. But I think the fact that you're not going to allow another team into it suits the other teams because they were a bit greedy. They didn't want to make the cake
Well, that's
smaller.
exactly why.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Exactly. That's exactly why they've got a pie. They want to share the pie amongst the current 10 teams, and they don't want an 11th member to come in and take their slice of the pie. Of course, if you can increase the size of the pie, then if you have 11 people that share in the pie, or if people team sharing in that pie, and the pie is larger, then every slice is larger than what you have as 10 sharers.
Yeah,
And that's the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you divide it between more teams, but you actually make the cake bigger, the pie bigger. So they're actually better off. But Formula One is too nearsighted or self-interested, let's call it that, to see that.
And that's what we will see if with the outcome of the Department of Justice investigation in the United States. Are they going to penalize Formula One? When I say Formula One, I mean Liberty, the owners of the commercial rights. In what way are they going to penalize them if they find them guilty of collusion? So it's going to be interesting. I think that's going to take a while, but it's going to be interesting to see the outcome of that, because, as I say, that is a separate issue.
On the subject of anti-competitive behavior, I see the person behind Formula E is now sort of drawing attention to Liberty Media's purchase of MotoGP along the same lines, maybe being too dominant in all forms of motorsport. So Liberty's got its work cut out of it, it seems.
Yeah. We did speak about it when that announcement came. We spoke with Dirk, if I remember correctly. And I think, the whole line that Liberty is taking is that these are separate entities, separate audiences, that they're going to be dealt with separately commercially, and all those sort of things. But yeah, if the same guy owns the top formula in single-seater racing in the world and the top formula in two-wheel racing in the world, I mean, it's certainly, I would think, a case to be made from that. I think I said at the time, Liberty has done a lot for Formula One, and really a lot positive for Formula One. And if they can just, do a portion of that, that will be to the benefit of MotoGP from a business point of view. But again, that's a separate subject.
All right, let's talk about the Daniel Ricciardo bombshell. And I think the bombshell is not so much the fact that he was fired, but more that the way that he was let go after all the years that he spent with the team, even though he left for a bit. He was always a loyal servant, and it's just typical of Red Bull lately. Even ardent Red Bull supporters that voiced their little, their displeasure about the way that Ricciardo was treated in this. It left a bad taste in the mouth, don't you think?
Yeah. But I mean, again, I'm rather cynical about this whole thing. Formula One has never been a Sunday picnic, so to speak. Formula One is all about do you perform or don't you perform, and if you don't perform, you're out. It's a very much a meritocracy. Yes, I think on a human level, I think on an emotional level, obviously, one feels sorry for Ricciardo, and for he's a loss to the sport. He certainly is a loss to the sport as a personality, as somebody who has become a very big Formula One star in especially the United States, because of his attractive personality, because of the way that he handles himself, by and large. Obviously, in the days when he was still very competitive, when he was racing for Red Bull, he was somebody that really, generated the interest that a sport like Formula One could only benefit of, and that's basically also from the beginning of the Drive to Survive series on Netflix. That series made him a big star, especially in the United States. So yes, on that level, obviously, it's a big loss to Formula One. And to all of us who love the personalities behind the steering wheels, it's a big loss. But if you just simply look at performance, there really wasn't any alternative, because unfortunately he's never regained the kind of form that he had while he was racing for Red Bull. And I don't think one can assume that had he returned to Red Bull, that he would resume where he left off, because the cars are completely different from when he raced for them. The handling characteristics are much different now. So it's not a given that he would have, you know, performed well. But yeah, absolutely a loss. I think there is another element to it as well, and it's starting to come out again, and very subtly. Christian Horner was interviewed recently, and he let drop that he actually insisted on Daniel Ricciardo staying longer than what Helmut Marko wanted to do. According to Horner, Marko already wanted Ricciardo out of the car after the Spanish Grand Prix earlier this year, and Horner insisted that he continued on because they were not sure what was going on with the other car, and they were not sure quite, you know, what to do, and where they were kind of waiting for Ricciardo to regain his form. So while they were waiting for what was going on with Sergio Perez, they were not quite sure. So Horner, and what I'm trying to say is it seems to be another symptom almost of the battle between Horner and and Helmut Marko in Red Bull, which continued behind the scenes right from the beginning of the season. And I see Jos Verstappen is now, Max's father is now also again put in his little stick in the wheel to try and you know, refer to the situation at Red Bull. I've said this many times on this platform. I think, you know, the shenanigans behind the scenes, the instability behind the scenes at Red Bull is going to continue, are going to continue, and we're going to see more of it as the season progresses, as the year progresses. And I think it's not the end of the upheaval behind the scenes at Red Bull.
This is clearly the symptoms of a team in turmoil. You know, Jonathan Wheatley is leaving, and Adrian Newey left. I can't remember the name. The strategy guys going
Courtney.
to Courtney's going to McLaren, and a lot of things happening that, you know, everything points to a team that's tearing itself apart, and that's, I think, what it's getting at. And you mentioned the Ricciardo. I don't think anybody disputes the fact that he should have lost his seat. I mean, but they could have given him a proper send-off like they did to Felipe Massa. Remember when he took his leave from Williams?
Yeah.
And now said it's going to be his last race, and then, you know, make a bit of a scene of it. What would have cost you, rather than have all this speculation around it, and then it happens, and again it's indicative of the power struggle between Helmut Marko and Christian Horner. I think that team's in for a rough ride still. You said it before many times. A lot more going to be coming out in the wash there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, there was no send off at the RB factory, even in Faenza, I think. You know, so. Yeah, it's a pity, and it's the ugly face of Formula One. It really is the ugly face of Formula One. There's no humanity involved. There's no empathy involved. You perform or you're out, and it's as simple as that. Obviously, what they wanted to do in the Red Bull organization, that includes all, you know, both the teams, was to see for the remaining 6 races whether the youngster is going to be able to perform well enough so that he could be a viable alternative to Sergio Perez for next year. That is certainly something that's on the cards, and that's something that Red Bull and Christian Horner also said in this interview. He said we have to see what Liam Lawson can do in the final 6 races, so that we have an option if Sergio does not pull his weight. Basically, that's what he said. So, you know, that situation is not clear yet. What is going to happen next year with Red Bull, and specifically with Sergio Perez, even though he's got a contract.
Well, there's strong rumors now that they might be announcing his retirement at his home race in Mexico. Now, he's denying it, like you've said, but, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Well, you know, I can understand where that rumor comes from. It makes a logical sense for him to say, look, this is it. It's my final home race. I'm out of it by the end of the season, or even immediately. And so, you know, depart on his own terms. It's still a possibility. He's been denying it, and denying it very strongly. And, you know, I think we've learned over the years in Formula One that if somebody starts denying something very strongly, it usually comes true. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not expecting it to happen, but I will not be surprised if it does happen. I cannot see Sergio Perez actually in that car next year, because he is going to be the one factor that has lost Red Bull the Constructors' Championship this year. I cannot see him continue. I'm pretty sure what we're going to see is some strong performances by Liam Lawson at RB for the final 6 races. Let's not forget there are 9 races left. There are still 3 sprints as well. So plenty of opportunity for young Liam Lawson to show what he can do and to stake his claim for the second seat next to Max Verstappen next year, which is going to be a very, very interesting combination, because I think most people in Formula One regard Liam Lawson as a potential world champion. And if he's in the right car, then again, is Red Bull going to be competitive next year?
Yeah, that's a good
Probably,
question.
but not dominant. Probably, but not dominant.
Yeah, I'm actually quite excited. I wonder if Perez that then does retire, who will replace him? Will it be Lawson? Will it be Yuki Tsunoda? I mean, there's quite strong rumors that he might end up at Aston Martin in 2026, being linked to Honda. That's going to be the engine partner to Aston Martin from 2026.
Yeah, I mean, these are all rumors. We must just, be very clear. These are all rumors. I think they are all possibilities. I think these rumors tend to start when some journalist somewhere needs to make, needs a story, and he needs some clicks on his website. So, some of these, and the moment that I know how it works. The moment that you put a rumor to somebody who's an official spokesperson for a team, or even, you put a rumor to the driver, their reply becomes the news. Whether they deny it or no comment or whatever, that then becomes a story. And I've seen so many of the stories start that way and then eventually, fade away because they were basically just something that somebody thought up. But for a while, it becomes a story, and then everybody runs with it. Everybody gets their clicks on their websites. So, one has to be very careful and just be clear that, something is really speculative, not based on any facts, or it could be a strong fact-based speculation. Somebody said somewhere that at some time that speculation is basically a premature fact.
That's a good one. Well, but remember, this is also sort of a cucumber time. Remember, you mentioned cucumber time when it was a summer break, and this break is as long as the summer break was between the last race and the next one. It's 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So somebody has to fill the news somewhere.
Just like this one, we have to create content. So that's basically what it's all about. But I think people must just be sure that they know what is speculation, what is based on pure speculation. I see a lot of that on the internet, obviously, but there is some speculation that can be founded in fact. It's simply somebody who's connecting some dots that could lead to something in the future, like we've been doing about the sale of Alpine. There are certain strong factually based evidence that is a possibility for the future. So the rumors about Daniel Ricciardo is a good case in point that started quite a while ago as rumors, and it's turned out to be true.
Tell me about Max, just briefly before we finish. The fact that he's so unhappy about being fined or punished for swearing and the likes, but there also seems to be a lot of bad blood between let's call it the Verstappen family almost, and Red Bull, not the kind of harmony you would expect from a driver in a top team. Jos is very upset about the fact that Christian Horner praised Sebastian Buemi, like you mentioned last week, for the work that he did in the simulator and managing to turn Red Bull's form around in the Singapore Grand Prix. He said it was all down to Max. That's not the kind of thing that you would expect from a driver and a team that were happy with each other, don't you think?
They were happy when they won. They were happy when they were dominant, and that there were no reasons for them to be unhappy at all. Soon as things didn't quite begin to work the way they did, and we've spoken about the upheaval at the beginning of the season regarding Christian Horner and his personal assistant, that certainly had an influence on the stability of the team behind the scenes. And combined with that, the fact that Max is now gone for 8 races. He won the first 7 races of the season. He's now gone for 8 races without a victory. The car is on the edge, as you know, as we know, as everybody knows. You know, the RB20 is competitive, but not dominant anymore. And for all those reasons, the Verstappen camp will certainly not be happy. But you know, Jos is the guy who says that. He's not shy to to state his point of view and state it to whoever wants to listen. You know, we've also mentioned it on this platform before. You know, Red Bull is the only team that allows the father of a driver to play such a huge role inside the team. That in itself is surprising, to say the least. But it is the father of their 3 times world champion. And the relationship between him and his father seems to be one of the keys of his success. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that they are not happy. And I think the more that Red Bull becomes or falls under pressure in terms of the Constructors' Championship, and Max definitely for the Drivers' Championship, the more we're going to see this. It's another factor that I think is part of the whole destabilization situation behind the scenes at Red Bull. Their competitiveness on the track, the unhappiness in the Verstappen camp, all of that plays a role, I think, in terms of destabilizing the team. It's not doing themselves any favors at all. You know, there are some drivers that are loyal to their team through thick and thin, and one can think of any number of them, even world champions. I have a feeling that the Verstappens and Max, as part of that camp, is not quite the same, or does not, you know, show the same kind of loyalty, or you know, when things go bad. But yeah, I think, as you know, when things don't go well, I think the Verstappens don't enjoy that. They want to win.
All right, Hendrik. Thanks for that. We'll have another chat next week, see what happens in the cucumber time. Maybe something pops up, something interesting. Appreciate it. Thanks, man.